Initiating podcast download. Prepare yourself. Put on your spandex. Lace up your boots. Wrap your wrists. Hide your razor blade. Head to gorilla position. Grease up your hair. Apply baby oil. Okay, apply more baby oil. Get into gimmick. Keep your ears open and your mouth shut. Have fun and be safe out there, brother. Welcome to Iron on Wrestling. Now your host, Gregory Iron.
Hello again, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Iron on Wrestling with Gregory Iron. I'm your host, Gregory Iron. This is episode 113, and today, our guest...
I can swallow up, bottle up, alcohol enough, feel like Godzilla, better hit the deck like the Godzilla. In here walking around a party, a cross between a zombie apocalypse and Big Bobby the Brain Heenan, which is probably the same reason I wrestle with mania, shake D's and switch them positive, consider it to cross me a cause, a mistake if they sleeping on me, the hoes better get insomnia, ADHD, hydroxycut, classic Cavazzi, A and AA with an AK, melee, finna set it like a play date, better vacate, retreat like a vacate, mayday, this beat is cray cray, Ray J, AJ, 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 laughing all the way to the bank, I spray flames that cannot tame or placate the monster, you get in my way.
Pardon the interruption.
Hello, Aaron.
Hi.
What was that? I don't know what that was.
That was a cover of the song Godzilla by Eminem and Juice WRLD.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. A cross between a zombie apocalypse and Big Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Yeah.
And that maybe is the same reason I wrestle with mania.
Yeah. Little insider
doing?
terms there, brother. I'm okay.
Yeah.
Can't
Did you get
complain.
that glass out of your ass?
There was no glass in my ass. There
There may have been.
I did get cut up a little bit by some glass because that's apparently what I sign up for now that I'm a prominent figure in 440 and I'm
You're
sort
like
of
a
doing
deathmatch guy.
I'm not a deathmatch guy, though I'm not opposed to guys that do it correctly, but I have been doing my share of deathmatch stuff, and this past weekend, I guess we can just get into it right off the bat, before we, of course, talk about our guest later in the show, Jake Crist, former Impact Wrestling superstar, former X Division champion. We're going to talk all about Jake. We're going to talk to Jake later in the show, and there's a lot to talk about when it comes to Jake and his story. But this past weekend, the top story in wrestling, in my opinion, Matt Cardona, a.k.a. Zack Ryder, winning the GCW championship from Nick Gage. And while he did a lot of stuff in that match that I think most people who didn't see the match, and probably some that did, would not expect out of a guy like Zack Ryder, who legitimately, this was the first time I met him, looks like an action figure in real life. I don't think people realize how big he legitimately is. He went in on that match, and he got cut up pretty bad. But in the end, he becomes GCW champion. And while he put in hard work, won't take that away, he did have a little bit of assistance from the 440.
Oh.
Yeah. We had a little game plan, Aaron. See,
A Gage plan.
A Gage plan, game plan to take out Nick fucking Gage. We went in thinking maybe we'll swerve this moron because he's not the brightest bulb. He's not the sharpest tool in the shed, and so
Some people call him Butter Knife.
that's what I heard. That was his prison nickname, which I'm sure he'll probably do something to end up back up in there soon. But we went out there, Ricky, myself, Atticus, Eric Ryan, Bobby Beverly. Before Ricky hit the ring, we were putting the boots to Nick Gage because fuck him. Ricky made his way out to We Can Roll, which got a big pop from the crowd. And anybody that's been following the product in JCW Jersey Championship Wrestling, which he was demoted to somehow. He had tricked all those idiotic fans into thinking that he turned over a new leaf, and made his way to the ring. He sort of stopped us and said, "Hey, guys, it's over. Stop doing this to Nick." And Atticus got up in Ricky's face.
I guess you call him Tricky Ricky, right?
This is quite the trick.
Okay.
Atticus got in his face and slapped him.
Oh.
It kind of threw Ricky off a little bit, and then Nick and Ricky had a moment, and they
This sounds is this erotic fan fiction?
No, there's nothing erotic about this.
Oh, because so far it sounded like that.
And
Got in his face.
okay.
He slapped him. They got into it.
Anyways, so then Ricky started firing off on us, on his own friends, members of 440. And before you knew it, it was just me and Addy left in the ring. And Nick Gage grabbed Addy, Ricky grabbed me, double choke breakers to both of us. And then, in a moment that will live forever in GCW history, Nick Gage and Ricky Shane Page smack hands. They have mutual respect for each other.
Mm-hmm.
The war is over, seemingly.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, Ricky says, "Boot scrape this motherfucker, Nick." Zack Ryder's sitting in the corner. He's hurt, prone. He's been getting his ass kicked. Nicky goes to do the boot scrape. And just as he goes to take off running, Ricky kicks him in the dicky. And he goes down. The crowd
Ricky kicked Nicky
in the dicky. And he went down, and then he rolled out. Matt Cardona picked up a bundle of light tubes, cracked Nick Gage in the head, hit him with a Rough Rider. 1, 2, 3. Matt Cardona is the new GCW champion. And much like the scene months back at Run Ricky Run, February 2020, bunch of garbage littered the ring. They were not happy about this. And the only saving grace for us was because, listen, we know that atmosphere there, and we know how much those GCW fans love Nick Gage. We were, once again, ready for a fight. Getting to the ring for this run-in was rough because, again, there's no barricades there. And these fans have middle fingers in our faces, and they're throwing shit at us as we're walking to the ring, and they're sort of like stopping us, so we have to push our way through. So we thought for sure, if we cost Nick this belt, it's going to be mayhem getting out of there. So once we actually did the dick kick and we're on the outside, we sold long enough to sort of see Zack Ryder hit the Rough Rider, but as the count was going down, we were getting out of there because we were like, you know what? Heat's not going to be on us tonight.
Yeah.
It's got to be on Cardona. And it was. And admittedly, I went back and watched the footage. He got the fuck out of there pretty quickly, too, which was probably for the best. But it was a moment. It was trending on social media. And it ranked right up there with UFC this weekend and the Olympics, apparently. Guys like Matt Hardy were talking about it on social media, and Kurt Hawkins. And what a surreal moment. And it was sort of nice to meet Ryder and be able to work with him a little bit and help him sort of achieve wrestling history.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations on all your success.
Thanks. I did get a big shard of glass in my leg, which was a first for me.
I thought it was in your ass.
It was not in my ass. It was in my leg, but I did get cut up in the ass region a little bit.
Was that from Nick Gage?
It was from the glass from Nick Gage.
He was going back to his prison days?
Yeah, apparently.
Tore that ass up, huh?
Okay. Well, it's not necessary, even for Nick Gage. But, yeah, I got a big piece of glass that Atticus had to pop out of my leg for me. So that's no fun, but I should actually post a picture of it because it's a pretty giant shard of glass, which I'm glad that I was sort of looking at it. And I didn't see the glass. I didn't feel the glass, but I said, that looks kind of shiny, that hole in my leg. And Addy goes, yeah. I think we need to pop that sucker out. And he said, because I've never experienced this, if you would have not noticed that and the skin would have healed over that, it would have hurt like a motherfucker. So
yeah, that happened to me before.
Did it?
Yep. Not in a death match.
Yeah.
I dropped my cell phone.
Oh, that incident.
And yeah, the screen cracked. And then in the morning when my alarm went off, I went to swipe, and I got a shard of glass in my thumb.
Not good.
And I thought I got it all out. I didn't, and skin over top. And then, remember, I had to call Ricky and ask him what to do.
You did, yeah.
And then some people at work just ripped it right out of me.
Awful stuff.
Yeah, so you had a big weekend, huh? Not only the wrestling events, but I think it started, on Thursday? Did you go to a Cleveland Indians game?
I went to the Indians game.
Soon
to be
to
the
be
Guardians.
Yeah, the Gardeners, huh?
Which okay, so what are your thoughts on that? Because in my head, I when I saw it, I said, you know what? Perfect name because you only have to change a few letters. Very similar to Indians. You could almost like how when the WWF changed to WWE, you can almost pretend that's the way it always was.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're the Guardians.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's always been that way. It just sounds the same.
I really thought it was going to be the Spiders.
Yeah. I think a lot of people
And
do.
I didn't have a problem with that, except I started hearing, when I was asking people about the name, just random folks, people I work with, whatever. I heard people in the stores talking. People don't like spiders. And a lot of
I'm not
people
a
were
fan.
like, it would creep me out if they changed their name to the Spiders.
Oh, it's just unnecessary. Are you gonna not like Spider-Man? Are you gonna say it's creepy?
Yeah, I don't
I'm not
know.
a big
I
fan
just
of
heard a
bats,
lot of
but I like
complaints.
Batman.
So I started thinking, okay, maybe it's not going to be the Spiders. Maybe this Guardian thing is taken off. I think you were the one that told me you liked the Buzzards. Was that right?
Yeah, I did like the Buzzards.
Yeah, I thought that would have been an okay name.
Guardians is good, but
Yeah.
like when I think about it, it does sound like it would be like an arena football team name and
Yeah.
not a Major League Baseball.
I think
team.
people just get used to it.
For sure.
So there's a lot of people that are opposing this name change.
Yeah, but like we know the type of people that are opposing this.
Yeah, and they're the same people who say, they'll say, Guardians is not my Cleveland baseball team.
Yeah.
Just like they say, Biden is not my president.
Uh huh.
Okay,
Exactly.
so, and I don't give a shit about any of that. What I'm saying is, people want to fight about this name, and
Sure.
and then they go, Guardians? What's Cleveland have to do with Guardians? What do Guardians have to do with Cleveland?
I mean, people are just being idiotic at that point because we
Okay,
know.
well, let me ask you this. I know you're a baseball guy.
I enjoy the game of baseball. All
Tell
right?
me your favorite Native American baseball player that's played on the Cleveland Indians. Just give me your favorite one over the last 20 years.
I can't name one.
Give me your favorite one over the last 100 years.
Well, the team.
Okay, so an Indian is actually someone from
India.
India.
Yeah.
Okay. What do we do with that? There's not even a person that's played. I mean,
Yeah.
somebody tried to tell me there was this guy back in 1905 or something like that the team was named after.
Right.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. That was a Native American, and he probably didn't enjoy being called an Indian because he wasn't from India.
But also, like again, it's not up to us, people that aren't Native American, to say what is and isn't offensive, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, like, can you imagine? Like, I'm going to use myself an example. Can you imagine someone? Again, I have a sixth sense of humor.
Yeah.
But if I didn't, someone was like, Greg, I want to name this team in your honor.
Yeah.
Like, I appreciate everything you do. I know that you mildly like baseball. We're going to do this in your honor. And he's like, in fact, we've already had a bunch of graphics made up. And it's just a bunch of, like, weird, mutilated, crooked hands.
And they're going to change the name to the Cleveland Crippled Crusaders.
Yeah, but it's just like gross, like
Yeah.
like awkwardly detailed, over the top,
Deformed.
Yeah. And I'm just like, but this is in my honor. But like that's, I mean, listen, I know that's a big part of who I am, but that's not all I am. So how would you think that the Native American that the Cleveland Indians was named after, when he sees the over the top caricatures that are created, this Chief Wahoo character?
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like, it's
yeah.
just like, it's a little, I don't know. Like, again, it's not up to us to decide what is and isn't offensive. And I feel
I've
like
never liked the name Cleveland Indians. I've never liked it because ever since I was a child, I was like, what's Indian about this team?
Right.
I don't see, a bunch of, back in the day, Indians
Sure.
On the team.
But also, like, what I didn't know Cleveland had such a rich Native American history.
Right. There
You know what I'm
was
saying?
there was 2 guys probably that played in the last 100 years that were Native American.
It's not like we had like reservations in Ohio at some point or something.
Everybody on the team is from, Puerto Rico.
Right.
They play in the Latin communities. That's look at 90% of the starting lineup.
Right.
So,
I
don't care what the name is. I like baseball.
Sure. People will get behind it.
And even if they don't, whatever. I mean, everybody said at the beginning there, I'm not going to watch the Indians this year because they took my Chief Wahoo away.
Bullshit. These are the same people that every fucking shitty WWE pay-per-view that comes out, they're like, cancel WWE Network. I hate Peacock. Oh, it's so shitty. But they keep coming back.
I canceled mine. I ain't going back.
Okay.
I got the WWE channel.
No. You do have the WWE channel.
So that was Thursday for you.
Well, it was great. Well, I just want to point out that my buddy Fat Tom, he surprised me because obviously I wanted to see him. I haven't seen him in a while, and I've talked about Tom in the past. Rad dude, I've known him for so many years, and he is still battling brain cancer. And so any opportunity that I get to spend some time with him, I love that. He was like, yo, come to this Indians game with me. And apparently he couldn't get anyone to go for some reason. I was like, whatever. Like, I'll go with you to the game. I like baseball. It's very calming for me to go watch these games. So we get there, and as we're getting to the venue, he goes, so did you bring money for snacks and stuff, And I was just like, yeah, I'll probably buy some stuff. I don't know. See what happens. Man, I might maybe even buy you something. Here to find out, dude has club seats, so it's not even an issue with buy. So he's just like, you can just eat whatever you want. So the view was incredible, and I ate so much food, and just Tom is the man. I love him. I appreciate him taking me out to the ball game, and it was a good time. But the next night, me and my girlfriend and her sister, we went to Friday Night SmackDown.
It was just the 3 of you?
Just the 3 of us, yes.
Oh. Okay.
Why?
I just remember you and I having a discussion one Monday night several weeks ago, and you said, hey, I might get these comp tickets, and I'm going to get 4 of them.
Oh, yeah, there was a 4th ticket.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Oh. It was cool, man. I was home. I watched it on TV.
Yeah.
By myself. Without my dog.
Okay. Come on, man.
I was alone. And lonely after you told me.
Well, maybe you should have sent...
For sure.
Maybe you should have sent Jess a message and said, hey, would you mind if I...
She hasn't responded to one single message that I've sent her.
What did you send her?
Nothing.
Oh, okay. So SmackDown was very nice. Great seats. And I think the most important part was Nicole and Jess had a great time watching the show.
Now, they're twins, right?
They are twins.
Okay.
And also, I want to point out that which I want to call it the gun still. I think
it's okay to call it
I
that.
literally thought it was still the Q, but apparently it's the Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse.
I think it'd be okay if they called it the Rock.
Okay, I guess they could do that. But I had no idea of the name change, and I was surprised to see the Rocket was nearly full. Like, I'm talking with the exception of nosebleed over on the right side of the arena, where if you're facing the stage, the whole building was packed. And, dude, it was such a good feeling because even though WWE's felt a little stagnant, people want live wrestling. They were into everything all night. And I think for me, getting older now, I was surrounded by a bunch of kids. And with John Cena being back in the building, just the Cena chants all night, and the way hearing little kids get behind John Cena made me think of like if I would have been in the crowd for Hulk Hogan as a kid. You know what I mean? It's just like it was like a nice, fun feeling, and sorry, we almost lost the lost the Zoom recorder here as we're talking. It keeps moving for some reason.
What are you doing?
I don't know what's happening, but yeah, it was a good time at SmackDown, and the only thing that made me upset was I had secretly ordered shirts for Nicole and Jess because they didn't have any wrestling shirts.
What?
They did, but Nicole got rid of a bunch of hers, and then Jessica.
You're gonna get Iron wrestling shirts for a small fee.
For a small fee, of course. But I secretly ordered them shirts, and
what shirts did you order them?
Well, I'm sure I should have them to them at the time this airs. So I ordered Nicole a Bianca Belair shirt because she likes Bianca Belair, and I ordered Jess a Seth Rollins shirt. But of course, story of my life, these fucking shirts that were supposed to show up on Friday don't show up until Saturday, so they're useless. So I ended up giving Nicole a Becky Lynch shirt that I had, and then Jessica wore a Stone Cold Steve Austin "Don't Trust Anybody" rattlesnake shirt. What? So it all worked out.
Yeah.
So that was my weekend. And then I had to go to these GCW shows and H2O, and I drove back on literally no sleep. I had commitments at 6 a.m. Monday morning, and I was up for about 35 hours straight, which is not healthy. I should probably get more sleep. I actually got 2 hours of sleep before I came over to record this, and real dumb. But I think the big news coming out of the weekend, other than Matt Cardona, was the return of Eddie Only. He was missing for a while there, you recall. And, man, he comes back in the casket match between G. Raver and Ricky Shane Page.
Yeah.
And no one saw it coming.
Well, tell me this. How long has he been missing?
8 months.
He's been gone 8 months? Is that a real thing?
Yeah, we kept it going for 8 months.
Wow, that was weird because it felt like 2 months ago that I went and got a tattoo from him that says Arn right on my body.
Maybe we had uncovered him for a second, for a little bit there.
You guys in that 440, and I'm wagging my finger at Gregory right now. You guys.
Listen, he's been in and out of the picture. I really don't know what he's been up to other than that one tattoo that we did a few months ago.
We did 2 tattoos.
Well, 2 tattoos.
I got one, and Ryan Egan, our good friend.
Yes, good friend of the show. Of course, big patron subscriber, and constantly in the studio, which we haven't had him in a second. Hope to have him in the studio soon. But Eddie Only, he pops out of this casket, and he pops out of the casket wearing basically a Sandman 95 outfit. He's wearing American flag, baggy ass pants, and a red tank top, and a trucker hat. And he comes out with a kendo stick, but not just any kendo stick, a kendo stick made to look like a giant cigarette. And so, Aaron, I tell you, when he fucking popped out of this casket, and G. Raver doesn't see it, he's got his back turned, he comes up, and the crowd came up in, like, tears.
Yeah.
Like, the pop was like, oh, because they see someone pop up.
Yeah.
They don't know who it is, but then I think some people see it, it's like, oh, what? And then he cracks G. Raver with the kendo stick. And then all the crowd like sees this and they react to that, but then they realize when he pops out of the casket completely, like, oh shit, it's Eddie Only. It's been missing for 8 months, and now the whole crowd is going crazy. And of course, Ricky choke slams G. Raver into the casket, closes the casket. 1, 2, 3. Ricky wins. We all come out to hug Eddie. We finally found him, and then the fucking crowd just starts chanting, Eddie, 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 and I'm thinking to myself, this guy's more over now because he was missing for 8 months than he's ever been. It's amazing.
You set up a whole hotline for him, and you posted, you didn't let people forget him all the way.
No.
He's gone, but he's not forgotten, and there's still a possibility if somebody can find this guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it was a good feeling. It was nice to have the 6 of us together as one. And so if you weren't at the H2O show, this has been the one H2O show that did not air live on IWTV, but as this is airing and you're listening to it this week, the show should be out, I believe, by the weekend, so you could see the return of Eddie Only exclusively on IWTV. And hey, if you want to do that and you haven't signed up for IWTV, maybe try using my promo code for IWTV, Iron. That's IRON, of course. And you can get a free trial to IWTV, and you could see free of charge Eddie Only make his dramatic return to professional wrestling. And a little spoiler, I believe next week we will have Eddie Only on the show to catch up with him and to see just what the fuck he was up to.
And to cover up this horrible tattoo that I got on my forearm.
Hey, listen, that was your decision.
I know. And it seems like it's been paying dividends.
Yes, we did get that advertisement on Conrad Thompson's podcast.
2 weeks in a row.
2 weeks in a row, which Conrad did not have to do that, seeing as you lost the bet.
Yep.
But thanks to yourself and Ryan Egan getting tattoos respectively for Conrad podcast, we got that free advertisement. We got a lot of good feedback. We have a lot of new listeners because of that, so we thank you guys for listening to the show
And
sticking
welcome.
around. Welcome to the show. Hope you guys are enjoying everything. Hope you're going back in the archives.
Hey, and
and
if
checking
you
out
hate
we
what
got.
you're hearing right now, stick around. It's kind of like the weather in Ohio. You'll like something eventually.
It'll change.
Yeah, whether it's WW erotic fan fiction or
Go back and listen to
musical
the Hulk
chair
Hogan,
shots.
Hulk Hogan Lie of the Week.
There we go. We have a lot of bits we do.
Yeah.
Sometimes we just talk.
Yeah, and people seem to enjoy that. I mean, it's a podcast.
I don't think anybody likes it.
I think they do. But if you like what you're here for free, also try out patreon.com/irononwrestling, where starting at $3 you get a buttload of bonus content. We're talking over 100 bonus episodes. All of these episodes that you hear for free during the week, you get extended versions of them. You get them out a day early. Sometimes, depending on my schedule, it's a few hours early. But listen, what's most important is you're getting it before everyone else, and you're getting bonus stuff in the episode that no one else is hearing. If you sign up for the $5 and up tier, you're getting full-length rare events, videos. You also get involved in the Zoom call, which we do once a month, which I believe, as we're airing this, I'll be scheduling that for this weekend, seeing as I have nothing going on. I love talking to you guys on Patreon. It's always a fun time. You get at least an hour of my time, an hour in time. We just talk about wrestling life, whatever comes up. $9 and up, you get to pick a bonus podcast subject once a month, and we have so many in the queue because you guys keep picking amazing subjects that we can cover at length in the bonus episodes. Of course, you can get stuff in the mail from us, which coming up in August, we're sending out another package. Feels like we just did that last month because we send out packages every other month, but check out all of the tiers at patreon.com/irononwrestling. It's the best way to support the show. But now that I've rambled about that, Aaron, let's talk a little bit about our guest this week. Jake Crist, former Impact Wrestling superstar, longtime friend of ours, and I want to put something out there before we talk a little bit about Jake at length. We recorded this episode 2 or 3 weeks ago now. We did it down in Indiana as part of a multi-show event that was happening. It was No Peace Underground and Paradigm Pro Wrestling and a few other things were running. And it was great to reconnect with Jake. I've known him since I started in wrestling. I do consider him a great friend, and I look up to him in a lot of ways, so it was cool that we can have this conversation. And I think it's one of the better conversations that we've had on the podcast. Jake really, really opens up about the path in which his career is going down right now. He's sort of rebuilding his career from scratch. Obviously, for a long time, Jake was known as a tag team wrestler with his brother. Now, over recent years, he's been really building a singles reputation for himself. And then, of course, look, you'd have to live under a rock not to know what happened with last year with Speaking Out and all that stuff. During Speaking Out, Jake happened to be involved with a storyline in Impact Wrestling with one Joey Ryan. And not that it was his choice, but he also happens to be related to Dave, his brother, who also was a pretty prominent figure that got caught up in the Speaking Out movement. So after we recorded what I thought was a great podcast, and when we parted ways, Jake just was very adamant about thanking me for the opportunity. He said he was glad that he could have this conversation on my show because he hadn't had a conversation the likes of which that you're going to hear later today. He said it was very therapeutic, and it was something that he needed to get off his chest because he really wants people to know the truth. A few days later, though, Jake reached out to me and said, hey, I feel like we talk too much about Dave, and I don't want people to get the wrong impression, and I'm really trying to rebuild everything, and I don't want any setbacks, so like maybe we should re-record something. And I said, Jake, I don't feel like this is a bad conversation. I will send it to you for you to listen to, and you tell me what you're comfortable about. And he said, you know what, brother? I trust you. If you think it was fine, let's air the episode. And so that's where we're at right now. So we are going to air the episode, and I guess you could be the judge of it, but I want to say this. You know, I think where this comes from, Jake's, I guess for lack of a better term, paranoia that someone is going to be upset about what he says today. Listen, I talked to you about it before we started recording, Aaron.
Right.
It's like when you go back and you talk about the career of Chris Benoit, okay? We talk a lot about in the episode how the Irish Airborne, or OI4K, as they later became known as, Jake and Dave were very innovative in pro wrestling. And there's times when we talk about Dave with not in regards to speaking out. We will address that subject later in the show. Jake will talk about that for the first time. But I think it's important to point out that before that was a thing, you can't deny that they were a good tag team. Now, that does not justify anything that Dave did or is accused of doing. But I think what's important to get out of this episode is, for the first time, Jake is going to tell his side of the story and just the reality of the situation between himself and his brother, and his situation with him and Joey Ryan, and just the circumstances in which it's all involved with. And I think that's very important. I think his paranoia of what people are going to think from this episode comes from something that happened a few weeks before we recorded this, which was the reason why we were going to record, and then we forgot about it because the conversation was so candid and good and therapeutic for him that we didn't even talk about the big thing that I thought we should talk about, this human interest story. I know you know about this. Jake saved a man a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I was going to say, is this the car thing?
Yeah, he saved him from a burning car fire on the side of the highway. So I want to get your take on all this in a second, Aaron, but I want to go to the article from the Facebook post in which Jake originally posted about this car wreck. And, so I'm just going to read it for you. I was working in Rock Hill, South Carolina for PWX. I had two buddies, Bobby Olson and Dave Ashburn, with me to help make this drive because I have a show in Indianapolis tonight. We were driving home, 77 North, about 5 miles into Charlotte, North Carolina, when we passed a blue truck that had wrecked into a concrete pillar. I told David to pull over because the truck started to catch fire. I jumped over the median, ran about 50 yards to a woman screaming, "He's in there!" She was trying to open the back door on the driver's side. I immediately opened that door and didn't see anyone. Then I opened the driver's door. That's when I saw a pair of feet. By this time, the whole truck was engulfed in flames. I grabbed his ankles and started pulling him out of the burning truck. David makes it to the truck, and I asked him to grab his wrist to help me pull him to safety. When he grabbed his wrist, he couldn't hold on because it was like touching a stove burner that was on for a while. So I had him, grabbed an ankle, and we pulled him about 40 feet from the burning truck. What felt like a minute or two passed, and the whole truck was engulfed in flames. Help arrived at the scene. Charlotte's emergency crew was amazing and were there with the burning truck. What felt like a minute or two passed, and the whole truck was engulfed. Help arrived at the scene. Charlotte's emergency crew was amazing and were there in minutes. We waited for the fire to be out and made sure the man was loaded into the ambulance and he was still breathing. I gave my information to the Charlotte Police Department, and after the officer says to me, as he's shaking my hand, "You're a hero." That's the post that Jake made on social media. Now, to bring this full circle, which I just brought up, I think Jake's paranoia about this week's episode comes from the fact that there were people on Twitter and Facebook that said, in response to this, directly responded to this with comments and tweets saying, "You're posting this for clout." What? What?
Yeah.
Aaron, I don't know about you. And listen, I know you've legitimately saved people's lives in different ways.
Yep.
And it's, I'm going to speak for myself here. I think there's certain situations where I could save someone's life, but listen, I don't know if I'm driving on the highway and I see a car on fire. I don't know if my thought is, even if I do you think I need to help this person? I don't think my thought is, oh shit, there's a car on fire, engulfed in flames. You know, if I pull this guy out, I could post about it on social media,
Right.
and it's going to make me look good. I think in that situation where it's life or death, you don't think about something like that. And
Even if he did, so the fuck what? Do you know what I mean? Like, you save somebody. It's okay to post that.
But what I'm saying is, like, I don't think anybody in their right mind,
Yeah.
like, no one is going to have the fucking balls to say, I'm going to save that guy so I can post it on social media.
Yeah, yeah.
You
just react.
most people are
Yeah.
going to drive by, and that dude would have died, literally would have died if Jake didn't stop. You know what I'm saying? And like for people
Yep.
to have the fucking audacity to bully him on social media and say you're posting this for clout, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah, like the average person would not do that, and I have to agree with the statement that was made by the police department and the firefighters. Jake is a hero for doing that, 100%. And the fact that he has to be insecure, and he deleted the post, by the way. I had
Yeah.
to read that from a secondhand news site that reported about it. He deleted the post because people turned it into something that it wasn't, and that's super fucked up.
Yeah. Well, that's people.
It's unfortunate. It shouldn't be that way. So when it comes to Jake Crist and his story, the whole situation, first of all, you could talk about whatever you want. You want to talk about Jake, the man, the athlete, the Irish Airborne. When you think of Jake, what do you think of? What comes to mind for you?
He was the one that I liked better in the tag team.
Okay. I feel like a lot of people say that.
Yeah. I mean, let's just talk about his brother right now. I'll tell you my personal experience. I was managing a wrestler who was opposing Jake. Nope, I'm sorry. Jake and Dave in a match. And Dave had this wrestler in like maybe a crossface, something. And as I was outside trying to get the little heat going where, you know, it's the reverse psychology where I'm hitting the mat. I'm trying to hit the mat to, get the people to cheer for, I think Airborne were the baby faces. But I'm trying to do it and then, turn around and go, no, don't cheer for him. Dave spits on me.
Without telling you?
Yes. Yeah. From in the middle of the ring, he hawks a loogie. And it hits me right in my suit jacket. And I was like, you know what? I don't think I like this motherfucker at all.
Yeah.
And then after the match, he comes to me and apologizes and said, you know what? I didn't intend for that to hit you at all. I was just going to spit in your direction. And I accepted his apology. Whatever, things happen. It's wrestling.
Sure.
And then later on, everybody went to like a Denny's or IHOP or something like that afterwards to eat. And the Irish Airborne were there. And that Dave dude went off and went up to some of the ring crew. And he just went and started smacking his kid in the face.
For real?
Yeah, that's a real thing. And this was in front of my wife at the time and my son. And I had to be like, oh, they're just playing right now. Because it got so uncomfortable, they wanted to leave. But he was just smacking this kid in the face.
Yeah.
I didn't see Jake do that. But I definitely saw Dave do it.
Yeah.
And I definitely lost all respect for him. So I'm just not a fan of his.
Yeah.
He was probably a good wrestler. Tell you what, right now, I can't even remember. I tried to block this guy out of my mind. But I thought, I kind of like the other guy.
Well, talk to me about some of your memories of Jake Crist. I mean, I have great memories of him and the time working with him, the camaraderie that we shared, and being around him so much. I know what a family guy he is, and I think that's something he really wants to get across in this interview is like that despite what might have been happening around him, and unbeknownst to him, by the way, there were things happening that he had no idea was occurring. He's a family guy, first and foremost, and he's been that way since he was a teenager. I've had great matches with him, great experiences. I loved watching him in Impact. The fact that he was able to capture the X Division Championship from Rich Swann, one of the most talented performers in the world right now. He's had a great career, and I feel like after this interview, if you're not already invested in Jake Crist, you will be. Talk to me about some of your memories of Jake.
I'll tell you this right now. I don't know that I have any memories. And the reason I don't have any memories of Jake Crist is because I didn't hang out with these motherfuckers after I saw the incident in that Denny's or wherever the fuck it was. And it wasn't even Jake's fault. Now, I understand I'm somebody that has brothers. And guess what? I ain't seen them motherfuckers in years.
Well, also, I think what your brother does isn't necessarily a reflection of you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It's like,
but if you're with that person and I don't want to ever be around that person, then I'm not going to be around you because you're always with that person. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have any communication with any of my brothers and sisters, and it's because my job in life is to keep my children safe. So they don't know their aunts and uncles because they are in and out of jail, or they just have problems that I can't. I'm not bringing you around. I'm not bringing my children or anybody I'm close to around these people. I have one brother who's younger that sometimes stays in contact with me. He seems like he's all right. He does, but he moved to Florida. So, but he moved, I believe, to get away from all the madness that are brothers and sisters.
Well, sometimes you got to do that to rebuild.
Yeah.
And I think.
So what I'm saying is, it doesn't necessarily always mean you're not always the closest with your family, even though somebody goes, "Oh, that's so and so's brother. Oh, so they must be together all the time." Nope. Brett and Owen. I always heard that Brett and Owen were not. They didn't travel together.
Yeah.
Owen wanted to travel with somebody like Fuji so they could plan ribs.
Sure. but it's also one of those things that it's like, listen, okay, when I say this, the immediate reaction is going to be, well, why did anyone do something? When Dave was outed in the speaking out movement, I want to say I never saw Dave do any of this stuff. Mm-hmm. I could see how Dave could be intimidating, though, because Dave is the type of guy that when he walked into a room, he wanted people to know that he was there. Mm-hmm. He wanted to be boisterous and cocky, and Jake was the complete opposite. Yeah. Jake was always the quiet and cool one or whatever. And also, I want to point out, Dave never did anything to me personally. However, when he was outed and speaking out, that being Dave, it didn't seem like a shocker to me, and I don't think it was a shocker to a lot of people. But when you're in that situation, it's no different than like an abusive relationship. Like you maybe that there's abuse happening in this relationship, and you want to do something. Sometimes because of intimidation or circumstances surround it, and also sometimes because like it's not really your business. Like
that's all I thought.
There's nothing you can do about it, right? And so you can say something, but it's not always easy to say something. So it's like it's such a hard thing to navigate. Like who speaks up? You know what I'm saying? Like I think that's what made it easier on Twitter last year with speaking out, is because like people had the courage to say what maybe they couldn't say in real life. You know what I'm saying? And so I don't know. I don't know the perfect way to frame this.
Well, here's what it is. Dave Crist put everybody in an uncomfortable, awkward position.
For sure. Listen,
whether you were someone that was being abused by him, or if you were somebody that was close to him and watching this abuse happen, or if you didn't see shit, but you still heard about it.
Yeah.
Sorry, man. It's I don't mean to bash this guy when he's down, I guess, but I was never a fan. I'll probably never be a fan. I hope that he is a better person now. But I didn't like him, and I knew I couldn't bring my family around him. Because what if he was just go off like that and try to do that to me, or and then we have a problem.
This isn't the Dave Crist episode. This is a Jake Crist episode. But again, I just wanted to make it clear. Jake is his own man, and as you listen to this interview, which we'll be playing very shortly, you're going to realize the type of human being he is. If you didn't already figure it out just by that story of him saving a man from a burning car, which he did not have to do, you're going to find it out in this interview. And Jake has a lot of good stories to tell. A lot of stories we didn't even cover. I say that all the time.
Yeah.
There's always room for part 2, but I think this was, as Jake told me personally, very therapeutic for him. And I think it's nice to finally, he's going to be able to finally get his side of the story out there. So we're going to go to that interview in just a little bit.
I need to hear it.
It's going to be a great one. But, something I want to bring up before we go to the interview, and there's no good way to segue to this, but when I saw Eddie Only this past weekend, the one thing that he told me in confidence, he pulled me aside, he said, Greg, a lot of weird shit's been happening in my life these last 8 months. I've been down and out, but I have been listening to the podcast on occasion. And I got to tell you, there were certain situations in my life over these last 8 months where, and he held his head down in shame. He said, I haven't been able to keep up with proper grooming. And I said, what? Your beard looks great. Your hair looks tremendous. I mean, it's, it's receding, but I think it's a good look for you. He's like, no, not the hair there. Down below. And I said, oh God, no.
Oh, no.
That's not good, Eddie Only.
What happened then?
He said, Greg, tell me about the Manscaped. I need to know about the Lawnmower 4.0. And I said, Eddie, I'll tell you.
He's not ready for the 4.0.
I said, Eddie, not only does it have an incredible motor on it, not only can you change the blades on there, but if you're doing some hood rat shit, Eddie, and there's water involved, any type of liquid, you can just submerge that thing in liquid and it's still going to run perfectly fine. And also, if you're in sort of a dark and dingy situation, which I feel like he probably was, it's got some lights on there, some nice bright LED lights to sort of illuminate the situation down on your testes. And he said, really? And I said, yeah. Why would I make that up?
Do you remember when I brought the Manscaped to the tattoo parlor? But they didn't want to use that. They wanted to use straight razor on my arm to shave it.
Yeah, I also assume that you probably did not clean the Lawnmower 4.0 before you were going to put it on other parts of your
clean
body.
Enough.
I don't know about that.
Eddie didn't want to touch it.
I don't blame him.
Now he's come around, though. I should send him mine.
He probably wants his own, though. Knowing Eddie, he's probably not opposed to just borrowing someone else's. But,
he's very clean. I got a tattoo by him.
Why borrow someone else's Lawnmower 4.0 when you can buy your very own? Because also, if you buy the Performance Package, which is available right now on Manscaped.com, not only do you get the Lawnmower 4.0, which you can shave your balls with, you get the ball toner, the ball deodorant, and, of course, you get the Weed Whacker, which is going to take care of those unsightly nose hairs, those terrible and annoying ear hairs. You're going to take care of all of that. And it comes in a nice, neat little package, which also includes a pair of boxers for you. It's a great little set that you can get over at Manscaped.com. And if you want to get it at a discount, well, that's what Iron on Wrestling is here for, because you're going to save 20% and get free shipping if you use promo code. I can't think of it. What's the promo code again?
Pardon.
Oh, yeah. PARDON. Pardon. Save 20%. Get free shipping. Do you think that's something that Eddie Only would be willing to do?
I think he'd be a fool not to.
I think the listeners would be fools not to take us up on this offer as well. Pardon. PARDON. Manscaped.com. Listen, not only will we thank you, not only will Eddie Only thank you, he'll probably light up a square in your honor. That's what the kids call it, squares. Or are they still calling it squares?
No, that's not kids. Old-ass people call it squares.
Oh, God, what are they calling it now?
I don't want to tell you.
You don't know, do you?
No, because I quit smoking 4 years ago.
Okay, wow.
Hey, man.
Eddie
4
Only would call
years.
you a quitter.
Yeah.
Eddie Only will thank you, and of course, with Manscaped, your balls will thank you.
I gotta tell you.
What?
Once you got clean, shaven balls and a clean shaven face, no nose hair, no ear hair,
Yeah.
you know what you need to go with that?
What's that?
A brand new T-shirt. You don't have to wear pants or underwear because you're trying to show off your wares.
Oh.
But you need to show off a brand new T-shirt because you can't just like get a haircut and then not shave.
All right, well, what's going to be on the T-shirt?
Wow. Oh, wow. What do you want to be on the T-shirt?
I don't know.
Podcast?
It could be a podcast.
It could be us. We could be on the T-shirt.
Sure.
Is that all, though?
I don't know. What other type of things can I choose?
Well, I don't know. What do you want on your T-shirt? I mean, we know a guy who is a guy that can hook us up with T-shirts.
Oh, this was your clever segue into the Of the Dead Designs ad. I get it.
Yeah. My good buddy, Magic Juan of the Ortiz.
Why is he magical now?
Well, have you seen his production?
Well, what?
Huh? Have you seen what he does? What he produces? That's a
Yeah.
production.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you seen what he's put out? Because he's put shirts out for us. I can't believe you wouldn't understand this.
Well, listen. What I know is that he's a one-man merch design company, and he's created merch for some of the top wrestlers in the industry. I'm talking guys for WWE, AEW, Ring of Honor, Impact, New Japan Pro Wrestling, and he has over 14
Mega
years
Wrestling?
of No, he's never created anything for Mega Championship Wrestling.
You've worked for Mega Wrestling.
I have. That's a
Okay, and he
place that I
created you a
worked.
shirt. 6 degrees of Magic Juan.
He's got over 14 years of experience, and he doesn't want to just create designs for superstars like us,
Right.
but he also wants to do it for the superstars of tomorrow. And really, you don't even have to be a pro wrestler to get a design from Juan Ortiz. I mean, you could get
Magic
anything designed.
Juan
I
Ortiz.
don't know why you're putting this in his name, but I mean, you could get anything designed for any occasion. I mean, you got something designed for your son and his friend. I've got shirts designed for myself, obviously in wrestling. But
You could do a family reunion.
sure,
Yeah,
absolutely.
those are popular T-shirts.
Bar mitzvah.
Ah, yeah. I got one of those coming up.
Do you?
Yeah,
Did
yeah.
not know you were Jewish.
I'm not.
Oh.
I just want that little skin clipped off.
Oh, that's real.
Huh?
Wait, you
No?
still have foreskin?
Wait, it's foreskin they're clipping off?
He's created designs from some of the top stars in the industry, though. That's something to keep in mind. We're talking Hulk Hogan, Young Bucks, Ric Flair. I mean, so many guys that you see on TV weekly, like Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. He's just an incredible artist, and for any occasion, Juan can make you a design that suits your needs. And you look, if you mention this podcast, he's going to knock $10 off your first order. Of the Dead Designs has spots open for the remainder of 2021, and they act fast with your artwork. So you need to act fast as well when you get artwork from Of the Dead Designs. Contact them right now on Instagram at ofthedead209, on Facebook at facebook.com/ofthedeaddesigns, or go to his website ofthedead.weebly.com. Stammered over my words, but you shouldn't stammer over the opportunity to reach out to Juan and get your artwork today, because Of the Dead Designs is bringing artwork to life.
Of the Dead Designs is alive.
Now that we got that out of the way, we're going to go to...
We didn't get it out of the way.
What?
Don't make it sound like it was a thing that like we were forced to do.
It wasn't like an inconvenience to me, but we just got to pay those bills. We love Juan, we love Manscaped, but
And I love how Magic Juan is.
now we're gonna go to one more ad. But when we come back,
Juan Morad.
we're gonna go to the interview with a good friend of mine, and hopefully he becomes a good friend of yours. Former Impact Wrestling superstar, Jake Crist. We will return to the Iron on Wrestling podcast in just a moment, but I wanted to take a couple minutes of this time to let you guys know that if you didn't realize it already, Iron on Wrestling is a DIY project. That's right, I'm recording all this myself. I'm editing it in-house all by myself. I'm coming up with the segments and the content, and I'm making sure that each and every Wednesday, by investing countless hours of my personal time, you guys have a new, unique, and entertaining episode blasting into your ear holes. So I hope you don't mind that for a few minutes each episode, you have to deal with a little bit of advertising. Because, quite frankly, I gotta pay those bills somehow. But you know, I don't just pick anyone to be an advertiser on the podcast. When I choose an advertiser for the show, I want to make sure that it's someone that can bring you, the listener, value. I often talk about Of the Dead Designs and my good buddy Juan Ortiz, who can create you a unique logo or t-shirt design for your personal brand. But once that t-shirt design is made, who's going to print it for you? Well, that's where Jesse Massey and SBS Printing comes in. Jesse is a good friend of mine, and much like me in this podcast, he's DIY. For over 10 years, Jesse has been printing t-shirts and hoodies in the comfort of his own home, and he's been the official t-shirt printer for guys like myself, Atticus Koger, Eddie Only, Ricky Shane Page, basically all the 440 guys. My favorite thing about Jesse Massey is the quick turnaround time. When I go to Jesse and I need a shirt design printed right away, I know that he'll have it ready for me within 3 to 5 days, sometimes even quicker. And on top of that, he's affordable. Jesse and SBS can print one-color shirt designs for as low as $5. $5. Where are you going to find another deal like that? Now you're probably thinking at a price like that, there's no way these could be quality, long-lasting prints. Wrong. They're super high quality and they're going to last you a lifetime. Jesse and SBS can print you t-shirts, zip-up hoodies, sweaters, and so much more. I encourage you to hit up Jesse right now. Shoot him an email at antisepticmaxrock@gmail.com. That's ANTISEPTIC maxrock@gmail.com. With Jesse Massey and SBS, you're going to get the best. That's no BS. All right, haven't talked to this man in a long time, but I'm glad we could get the opportunity to speak. Jake Crist, good to see you, my friend.
It's great to see you, man. How you been?
I'm okay. How are you? How was your travel to Indiana today?
It was only 90-something minutes. So it's
That's
the
a short
quickest
drive for us.
travel that I've had in probably 9 years.
Wow. That's a long time to be. Well, listen, anytime there's a drive that's less than 3 hours, I'm always like, that's a short drive.
3 to 4 hours. It's
Yeah.
like, I could do that in my sleep.
No problem. Wrestling really changes your perception of what a long drive is.
Yeah, because it's like you if you go to, like regular jobs, like when I had a regular job, I'd go to my friends like, hey, man, I'm up the street wrestling on a Tuesday. It's only 45 minutes away. They're like, oh, no, that's too long of a drive for me. And you get disconnected from the fact that these are real-life humans on a 9-to-5 base, working their 9-to-5 job.
I know.
That's too long of a job.
My brother was, at one point, he was like a manager at Chipotle. He's like, they're trying to transfer me to another Chipotle. It's like a 20-minute drive to work now. And I'm like, who cares?
You're gonna get a raise?
Yeah,
it's only 20 minutes. Come on, man.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's like my father-in-law. He was always like, "Do you get paid mileage?" How many times have you got that? Do they pay you by the mile? No. No.
What
my
about
9-hour trip doesn't get paid by mileage one way.
family members? Always ask the most interesting things, and people that don't like kind of get wrestling but don't really understand it. They always ask the, I don't want to say dumbest questions, because I guess from an outsider's perspective, they're average questions, but you've got the type before. It's like, so what weight class are you in?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Or if, like, like I said, you're working a regular job and they find out that you're a pro wrestler, like, oh, excuse me, John's going to come over here and body slam me.
Yeah.
Or, be careful, he'll give you a suplex. Body slam, suplex are always the number two.
Or like you tell them you're a pro wrestler, but like you're not in WWE, so they go, so you ever thought about going pro?
Right. Have you ever thought about going to WWE? No.
Yeah.
Never.
That's a great idea. Let me give him a call real quick, Vince.
I never thought about that, sir.
What a ridiculous question. Yeah. How has your family always been as far as accepting pro wrestling as a part of your life? Because you've been doing it for like 2 decades now.
Yeah, 19 years and a couple weeks, actually. My anniversary is July 23rd.
I just hit 15 years this weekend. Woo! Crazy.
Woo! I feel very, very old.
But we're not that old, because we're in our 30s, and I feel like that's new 20s,
I'll be 37.
Right? I'm 34.
I'll be 37 in 2 days.
That's not bad. That's not bad. You look great.
Thank you, brother.
And you're in the best shape of your life.
Best shape of my career, all because I quit drinking. Legit quit drinking. When I asked for my release from Impact in December, with all, everything that happened with the speaking out movement, with being in a group with RVD, Katie, and Joey Ryan, like they had to cut all of, I think we did like 7 or 8 weeks of TV of me being, next to the guy. And so like I going through all that was the biggest depression I've ever felt in my life.
Yeah.
I was drinking constantly. I had a problem, not realizing that I had a problem, and I was 237 pounds.
Wow.
Last October 18th. I looked in the mirror and literally had this conversation out loud. Like, I woke up. I went to a Halloween party with my wife. It was her sister's, so my sister-in-law's Halloween party. And life of the party, being DJ, all that, doing the drinks, well, get home late, wake up, hungover, feeling like garbage, just complete garbage. And as I'm walking past my full-length mirror, I look at myself, I'm like, look at you. Like, literally look at you. You have titties. You have a belly. Like, I jumped on the scale and I was like 237.8 pounds. And I was like, all right, man, you can continue to feel, because that I got the email in early June from Impact. It was like, we're going to take you off of your bi-weekly $1,500 check. So I got paid $3,000 a month from Impact. So they were like, we're going to stop paying you bi-weekly. We're going to change your contract, and we're going to pay you $500 per appearance. But like I was freaked out. I was like, I didn't know if I had a job. I have 2 kids and a wife to think about. So I was like, even more depressed. Like I said, that was June. So depressed, getting on the road. I'm drinking as soon as I get on the road. Because I didn't want to drink in front of my kids, but it was like as soon as I got on the car, boom, I'm drinking. Somewhere in Tennessee, like I pass out in my car before the show, and I wake up and I'm almost home, and I realize what had happened. And I was like, I couldn't perform tonight, huh? He's like, yeah, you didn't. So it felt really, really horrible. But like, what really did it was, like I said, October, having that Halloween party, fast forward, because Impact was like, we're going to keep you under contract, because my deal was up in January. So as soon as my deal was up January 2020, I was like, okay, like if maybe they're just gonna keep me on, I'm just gonna cruise along. Because like I said, this happened beginning of June when all the speaking out movement and all that stuff that happened with Dave and Joey came out. I mean, I don't fault Impact for this at all. I would have pulled everything off too. I was next to Joey Ryan every single segment, doing matches, cutting promos. Like I said, 8 or 9 weeks. It was like I think 1 or 2 weeks of that aired when of me being officially in that group. So it was like I have no animosity or hatred towards that. Like I would have done the same thing. Like running the show in Dayton that I ran for 6 years, I would have done the same exact thing. It would have took me off, liability. And it was exactly what they told me. So it was like I was scrambling. And I was like, all right, so like I was a cancel culture. I'm going to start doing this thing called the Modern Man in Black. And I wrote out, I think it was like 5 or 6 page script, and I sent it to Impact. Like, this is how this will work. This is how this will work. This is the gimmick that we can go into. Here's the logo that I'm going to do, that you see the JC that I'm doing now. Like, laid it all out, and not a word back from them. Nothing back, nothing back. So from June all the way to the middle of December, and when I found out that that was their last set of tapings, because my wife was working for Impact, so I was like, okay, I know I'm not going to get a chance to come back and get my contract renewed, because, why would you keep me on the shelf for 6 months?
Yeah.
So I asked for my release, and, thankfully they granted it to me. But I had to hit rock bottom. I had to look at myself in the mirror like, dude, you're an alcoholic. You have a problem. Let's turn your life around. But it wasn't, I'll be completely honest with you, Greg. It wasn't for family. It wasn't for, to get back at Impact. I literally looked at myself in the mirror and hated the reflection. So I was like, it's time for a change. Are you going to piss away your career? Are you going to continue to feel sorry for yourself and drink? And that's how I was able to turn it around. I knew a little bit about weightlifting and stuff, so I just, because if anyone ever followed me in my career knew, like, back 2006, 2007, I was pretty jacked, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, by my standards, I was like 205, like, jack solid, wearing trunks.
Mm-hmm.
So
I remember.
So it's like I had a little bit of knowledge of nutrition and stuff. So that's literally what I did, and turned it around like that with the snap of my fingers. And was like, you're gonna piss away your career.
Well, the bottom line is you can't out-train a shitty diet. So taking out alcohol is obviously the first step. So when it comes in terms of eating, how drastically or not drastically did you change that?
I'll be completely honest. So it was like 19 years of doing this. It was like 15 years. Anyone that's, been at this for a long time, like, and you feel like you're being, you're good to great on a consistent basis, through 15 years of every time, Ring of Honor, everything that I did, Japan, Ring of Honor, Europe, all this stuff, going out there, killing it. So it was like, for 15 years of doing that, of giving a shit, like, nothing happened. There was, like, we'd reach out and try to get, looks and by different companies. Only one that was really looking at us at the time was Ring of Honor. So it was like, with just having just that looked at us, it was like, man, like 15 years, I cared so much. Like, what if I tried something different and just stopped giving a shit? So I stopped caring. Like, I stopped working. It was 5 years of not caring, not eating, not dieting, not eating properly, not going to the gym, not doing all that stuff. And like, as soon as I stopped not caring, got signed by Impact.
Go figure.
You know what I mean? So it's like, and then it was like, well, this not caring thing has worked.
Right.
So then I stopped caring even more, and it started working even more, because it went from like, getting paid $500 to like, hey, we want to put you on salary now. OVE's, kind of getting over. Like, are you guys down with that? Yeah, you want to give me more money? Where do I sign?
Sure, yeah.
Yes, let's do this. So, with all that not caring and then hitting rock bottom, it was like, all right, man, like, it's time to start caring, not for your own health benefits. Screw this business, screw anything that happens. If I leave tomorrow, I still have my wife and my 2 children, and I could safely say there's probably, I could count on 2 hands of the people that I've met in this 20 years, or 19 years. You just always kind of
Round it up.
Yeah. So, the 19 years of doing this, probably count on 2 hands of the people I'd still talk to. You know what I mean? Because, like, nowadays I feel like it kind of always felt like you coming into, like you're a new inmate coming into a prison. There's always going to be cliques. There's always going to be people, grouped up. It was like that in 2002 when I started, so it's nothing's going to change. But if anybody has a head on their shoulder, they'll just come in, do their stuff, perform at the best of their ability, and go home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's where I'm at this point.
Sure.
I'm just trying to live out the rest of my sentence, I guess, I would say at this point. Who knows how long that is.
Yeah.
But I am approaching, 40, and I don't want to be on the indie scene at, 40 or 45, saying, hey, honey, getting back on the road. I got it. Like, I don't. Unless something big happens within that time, like I'm probably just gonna slowly just start to tighten up. Instead of going 9 and 10 hours and flying places, like I'll drive the 2.5.
Sure.
That's where I'm gonna lasso it up and just pull it even tighter. Like as my time slowly starts to
Sure.
go away.
Well,
Because that's just life.
Yeah, you call it a sentence, but I mean, like, and listen, wrestling can be very frustrating sometimes.
Right.
Definitely has its ups and downs, but you've done some incredible stuff
yeah.
in the 20 years that I've known you. And like, I don't know if you even know or remember this, but literally back in 2007, I had a concussion with brain bleeding, almost died from it in a wrestling match, and I'm sitting in a hospital bed, and the doctors are unsure if I should go back to wrestling, and my dad is there. And I remember my dad saying, well, I guess you won't be doing this dumb wrestling shit anytime soon, right? And I said, not until next weekend. Me and Matthew Justice have the biggest opportunities of our lives. We're wrestling Dave and Jay Crist. And literally the doctor had to be like, if you go wrestle in a week, if you fall wrong, you will die. And it was that moment that was like, okay, maybe I'll take a couple weeks off. And I remember we talked to, was that your dad that ran DCW? Like, he said he was your dad, but he wasn't really your dad?
It wasn't my dad.
Okay,
no.
who was that guy? What was the relationship with that guy? This was
Okay,
Dynamic Championship Wrestling.
Dayton DCW.
Yeah.
Dynamic
Championship
Wrestling.
Yep.
I think it is now. Okay. I'll give you the origin story along.
Okay.
I'll try to shorten up, but DCW started with me, Dustin Reyes, and a couple other people in New Carlisle, Ohio, backyard wrestlers. We built a ring and welding class, threw it in Dustin Reyes' barn.
Okay.
Started wrestling, backyard amongst friends. My cousin, he was kind of like our promoter without us knowing what a promoter was, but he'd say, hey, come watch my cousins perform. Them and their stupid juggalo friends are doing this wrestling thing. So he promoted us that way, and he would put it on different chat boards, and the local news channel, News Center 7, did a special on backyard wrestling, and WWF at the time was at the Nutter Center, so they came and interviewed the WWF guys, and now it was time for like the backyard wrestling guys. Well, anyways, we get on that, blah blah blah. A lot of people see it. We end up getting trained for free. Now we're doing independents in the Dayton area. I'm probably 3 or 4 matches in. Guy approaches me, Lonnie Saunders, Tommy Blaze, a guy that owns DCW. We wrestled in this company called Outlaw Championship Wrestling in Yellow Springs, Ohio.
Okay.
And classic wrestling stuff, you know. They started their promotion because this other promotion wouldn't put the belts on them.
Sure.
So they started Outlaw Championship Wrestling.
Love it.
We got him bad at that. And he was actually looking back at it now. Was like 17. He was like 36, and he was just kind of like, he presented like opportunity and money and was like, hey guys, like I want to take your creation in the backyard and make it a independent wrestling company. I want to use Dayton Championship Wrestling. You guys cool with that? So we took our backyard fed in New Carlisle and made it into an independent company that's still running today.
That's crazy.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like that was the relationship with Tommy Blaze and Lonnie Saunders. And it's so funny that you bring that up because yesterday I was working in Cincinnati and a guy named Chris Ledbetter asked me about Tommy Blaze, and I because like we're talking, I haven't seen this guy in like 10 plus years.
Yeah.
So like when somebody to me is like, because with Impact being there for the last 4 years, when someone says Tommy, I automatically think Dreamer.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
So it was like, he's my agent. He's, you know, producer. He's telling me what we're doing, you know, like all that stuff. So it was like, when he came up and was like, Tommy Blaze, I was kind of like,
Yeah.
I don't really, and then he's like, you know, it was like, oh, Lonnie.
Right.
So, that was the relationship with that. Because I believe that's where we worked you for the first time.
It was because the situation was, after they tell me in the hospital, like, if you bump, you die. Like, literally, it was like, if you take a shit and push too hard, you could die. So I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll take a few weeks off. And I had to call Tommy Blaze and be like, I
Pick with
can't
National
wrestle.
Guard Armory.
Yeah, I was like, I can't wrestle. Are we still going to be able to do this match with Dave and Jake? Because sometimes I don't think people realize it when they're themselves and they're humble, but like, you and Dave really were ahead of your time. And at that point in our careers, for me and Matt, it was like wrestling you guys and being able to learn from you guys is something we didn't want to miss out on. So I needed to know, when I get better, we could still have this match. And we ended up having the match. And I don't know if you remember that day at all, but like, I remember for some reason, somebody or multiple people had fucked something up, and so you and Dave were not in a good mood. And I remember like we didn't talk the whole time, and we were still young kids, so me and Matt were like, we don't want to go up to them, bother them, they're clearly preoccupied, and we didn't talk about the match till like 5 minutes before. We're like, fuck, but I remember it was a fun match. And then like afterwards, I think Tommy was at ringside, and he's like, we had to like punch him a few times or something. He's like, can you boys come back on this date? We're like, we're booked that day, and then we never got booked again. But it was a great opportunity.
So we at least got your rebooking. Well,
yeah.
You could have had a rebooking.
Yeah, but like we did the match, and like that was so important because again, you guys were ahead of your time, and I gotta think that's because the time in which you guys came up, you know, through HWA and all that, and like 2002-ish, right? Am I got it right? I mean, wrestling was changing. Independent wrestling was changing. I feel like you guys were on the cusp of that change in style.
You know how much shit we took from the HWA? So I started in 2002. I wrestled my first match in Heartland Wrestling Association in 2004.
Okay.
So like, with 2004, yeah, like I remember just because I'm still a fan. So it was like, you know how it is when you're first coming in. It's like, I want to do in my matches what I like and what I like to see. And I actually kind of still do that to this day.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, like I don't want to give a crappy performance, you know, they're paying their hard-earned money to come see us, you know what I mean? So I've always kind of had that mindset. But so it was always kill it. And I remember Cody, Stryker, Nigel, all those dudes being like, you guys suck. don't be doing high spots like that. Because I mean, we were doing the dive parties, the super kick parties. We were doing like all that in 2004, you know, and trying to perfect it and all that crap. So, yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you for that.
Well, no, I mean, it's legit. So, like, you say you get in around this time period in 2002, 2004. You're still a fan. who are the people that inspired you before you start independent wrestling, and then once you're on the cusp of this change in wrestling, who are the guys you're trying to emulate?
Okay, so I went through, my stages. My dad introduced me at 5. I've loved Hogan, Ultimate Warrior. The rockers, the colorful characters. Those are the guys that obviously got my attention and was like, okay, I want to watch this. Around middle school area. It was around 5th grade. I come in and I come into this new city. My buddy Kenny at the time, he was just wearing a DDP shirt and an NWO hat. But at the time, like in the mid to late 90s, it wasn't cool to be a wrestling fan.
Right.
Like you couldn't let it be known that you like to, watch wrestling on Mondays. So with him saying it loud and proud, I was like, hey, man, you a wrestling fan? Yeah, bro, so am I. NWO, that's my jam. Oh, I can't believe. So, that's how we headed off. But within that time, I concentrated on playing baseball, and I was working on getting a scholarship. I was actually had a full ride scholarship to Wittenberg University, which is a local college. But I probably should have done that. But I caught that wrestling bug again, and the WCW cruiserweights, they obviously, being a little guy, I was like, those dudes are awesome. They actually seem like they love what they're doing. Not like, like the Halls and Nash. It just seemed like they were there. Because you had that inkling as a kid of saying to yourself, like, those dudes are just there for, money, probably. You know what I mean? Not like the Juventud Guerreros are landing on their heads to, entertain the mass, being a WCW cruiserweight. So, that attracted me. And then the Edge Christian ladder match with the Hardy Boys, the Terry Invitational.
No Mercy
that
99,
match,
Cleveland.
That match right there was the match. And Jeff Hardy became my number one guy. Jeff Hardy and RVD were the two guys that I was like, I'm going to do that because of them.
Yeah.
So, those two dudes, so Hogan, Macho Man, all those dudes brought me in, kind of got away. NWO, WCW, Cruiserweights, but that ladder match was like, this is what I want to do. That dude that has colorful hair, he's awesome.
Yeah.
The way he just flies down and does that front flip, that's amazing. Because at that time, it was just called a senton.
Right.
It wasn't the swanton. So all that, and then I started to dabble into how can we pursue this. And like I said, we started backyard wrestling, built a ring and welding class, put this stuff on the internet, because that was the beginning, early stages of the internet. We actually, with our back, I know this kind of going, around circle.
No, you're
but,
fine.
Now that it just popped in my head, talking about backyard, we actually booked Prohibition and M-Dog to come wrestle in our backyard.
Really?
At our barn, but they just never showed up.
What?
We talked to them. We are going to give them their money and everything they wanted. They asked, I think it was like $50 a trans back then, because they were doing the backyard wrestling VHS tapes.
They were a big deal.
Dude, the straight edge, dude, Prohibition was our favorite dude to watch, because we were all straight edge kids too.
Yeah.
So it was like, that dude, yeah. So they took backyard wrestling bookings. I swear they did.
I believe
we booked them.
I believe it.
We booked them.
We don't. So that's an interesting thing. I know we're kind of getting off on a tangent here, but backyard wrestling, back when we started, it had such a stigma of being this bad thing. But now you see that guys that grew up sort of in the backyard influence in pro wrestling is very prevalent, and I don't think it's necessarily in a bad way. What are your thoughts?
I absolutely agree with you, because when I first was in this business, and even being a backyard wrestler, because we always took things to a different level. If we wanted to do something and we set our minds out to do something, we were going to do it. Hell or high water. Like, this is going to get done. I put my mind to something, I'm going to do it. So it was like, I'm going to be a pro wrestler. I'm going to be a pro wrestler. I'm going to figure out a way to do it, you know? Like, so like I said, we built I think it was 13 or 14 poor kids in New Carlisle, and we all saved lunch money up to buy materials in welding class to weld it. And like I said, by the luck, you know, luck of whatever people's, you know, beliefs may be, by the grace of God or luck, we got to train for free by a guy named Bill Kowaleski that was trained at the Monster Factory.
Yeah.
By Bobby and Charlie Fulton, all those dudes, you know,
Right.
like, so he gave us free training, like, for 2 years. So it was like 2 years in this barn, and they had holes in the ceiling of the barn. So when it rained in the ring. When it snowed, we had to push the drift of snow that was in the bottom left-hand corner of the ring.
So ridiculous. When you say stuff like that, because I remember my training ring in the bottom of Turner's Hall was like, it had like a dent that went in the middle, so you couldn't even bump in the middle. So you had to bump almost by the apron, and you know, you can only hit the ropes on two sides or else you'd hit the wall. It feels like we're not that old, but it feels like we're talking about another era. It's like when our parents say, like, I used to have to walk uphill in snow to go to school.
It really is, though.
Yeah, like I feel like guys don't go through that anymore, and they don't appreciate some of these state-of-the-art training facilities that they get to train in now.
I mean, like, even with, because, like, we went from the barn, as I wrestled there for 2 years, or trained there for 2 years, was independent wrestling, actively doing the DCW stuff and the little indies in Dayton, and then furthered my education in Cincinnati with HWA, with Cody Hawk, Matt Stryker, Unibrow, Matt Stryker.
Mm-hmm. Yep, made my first pair of gear.
All those dudes, man, like those guys are awesome.
Yeah.
I owe those two dudes everything.
Yeah,
legit.
That's awesome. Yeah, you know, so you're traveling the indies as you start, but one of the things that I've always enjoyed about your career is the time that you spent in Juggalo Championship Wrestling, because I mean, I wasn't a big Juggalo in school. I feel like you were. I mean, you were Crazy J.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know? And so I did 2 gatherings of Juggalos, but I feel like I did the last true gathering, which was 2013, because it was in the middle of nowhere in Illinois, no Wi-Fi, so you had to deal with, you know, reality and everything. And listen, I don't drink, I don't do drugs, and it was me and M-Dog that whole weekend. But if I had to go back to one time in my life, I would go back to that weekend at the Gathering of Juggalos, because it was so out of this world. You got to have some crazy stories from JCW.
Man, to be completely honest, the only stories that I have are the ones that have been seen. Like, I think his name was like Shit Stain. He fell off the roof.
Yeah.
And did like a leg drop during the tryouts. Okay, it's not a crazy story, but, you know, I was there for that. At Cave and Rock, Illinois. Madman Pondo, he was the head trainer of the Juggalo Championship Wrestling, which was like, you know, untrained guys that come in. You know, it was a part of the, you know, gathering experience or whatever. And all it was just 2 dudes, you know, you gave them like 2.5 minutes. If they did better, you got 3 more minutes, you know, but it was 5 minutes total. You got to go in there and have, you know, put on a match with your buddy. So, like, I'm sitting back and I'm watching all this and everyone's laughing and popping, and I'm thinking to myself, like, what if this dude really got hurt?
Yeah.
Like, this probably isn't going to be a good look. So I talked to my brother. I was like, dude, we should come up with a plan, like, doing something else. I don't feel comfortable watching this anymore. I don't feel comfortable untrained people getting in, you know, in the ring. The stuff hurts.
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody says. You fall down once, you hit the ropes wrong,
Mm-hmm.
you can fall out of the ring and you can break your neck. I don't care, like, how, you know, if you signed a waiver. I'm also thinking of it as, like, I don't want this to get shut down either because, like, whatever the reasons may be, payday, you want to wrestle, whatever the alternative motives that you may have, you know what I'm saying? So, like, I didn't like seeing that. So I was like, dude, what if, because it's called the training anyways, what if we actually train juggalos? So I took the idea to Violent J and Vampiro, and they loved it. So the next day, me, Dave, and Vampiro started training juggalos that wanted to be a part, and we actually showed them the proper ways to do things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then we just did it to where it was like we trained these guys, and they had to make a commitment too. It was like, yeah, you paid $200 to be here at this concert, and those dudes, you can go off, have fun, do your drugs, drink, go watch Twisted, ICP, Blaze, all those dudes, do your thing.
Yeah.
But like, if you really want to be pushed and like further your education in pro wrestling, we're going to be here training all these days. Show up. So the dudes that showed up every day, obviously we built a battle royal, and like the battle royals that I like to build, I do spots and I want to do intricate stuff, because how many times you've seen an indie battle royal where it's just dudes just teeing off on each
Worst
other,
punches
and
and
that's
kicks.
it's not entertaining. So it's like, we can have a bunch of kicks, but like, let's do some spots. So like the dudes that actually committed and didn't show up drunk or high or hungover, put them over.
Wow.
And then we, like I said, at the end of the gathering at Bloody Mania, they got to do the battle royal in front of the JCW fans.
That's awesome.
So like I did that. I think the 3 or 4 years after that, we continued that.
That's awesome. That's a great story, actually.
Yeah,
I love that.
It's not a crazy story, but that's one of. I guess it's kind of off the wall, wacky story of the gathering.
It's a little wacky
that you wouldn't expect.
Yeah, I definitely didn't expect that.
I don't have any like I put shit in this dude's bag story.
Do you remember what you did on the 2013 gathering?
I don't.
I want to say, would you guys have wrestled the Young Bucks? Or?
It was. All that stuff kind of runs together. So it was like the Cave and Rock matches was we worked London and Kendrick.
Okay, this is the match I'm thinking of. So
that was amazing,
dude. It was amazing. So I have a story about that. I'm watching you guys wrestle London and Kendrick, and I love you guys, and I love London and Kendrick, and so I want to watch it. But for some reason, Eugene walks up to me and he goes, "What are you doing right now?" And I was like, "Well, I'm going to watch this match." He's like, "I want you to watch this match with me." And I feel like Eugene was in a different place in his life at this time. And so we sat down together, at the side of the ring, but farther back away from the fans. And he just kept picking apart the match, maybe a little too much. But what sticks out more than anything to me about this, he says to me, and I think it's a joke, and he goes, "Hey, do you think any girls here would want to, like piss on me?" And I'm like, "I don't know, man. You're gonna have to look around." And
Whoa.
he's like, "Oh yeah, I'll have to check into that." And then like we keep watching the match, and he keeps picking it apart and analyzing and overanalyzing. And then some other guy walks by him and he goes, "Hey man, do you know if there's any girls here that'll piss on me?" And he's like, "I don't know. I'll have to try to find someone for you." He's like, "All right, well let me know." And then he asks someone else. I'm like, I think he actually wants someone to piss on him.
Pee on. That's so weird.
Now maybe it was a super straight joke that he was doing, but I found it a little peculiar. During your match, no less.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I never would have thought in all my time of wrestling that someone would say Eugene was looking for someone to take a piss on him
man,
during one of my matches.
It was a thing that happened.
Bro, I think I could retire now.
Well, watching that match, though, it was incredible live and in person. I'm sure it was a great experience for you guys. But, the thing that often popped into my mind over the years was, like, why did it take you so long to get a shot? Because, as I said, you guys were always incredibly innovative. You guys were always in, whether you think so or not, you guys were always in great shape. What was the holdup? What do you think was the setback?
To be honest, like there was no sense of urgency of going out there and like trying to get something. For all the way up until a year and a half ago, I never sent out a tape. I never sent out a highlight reel.
Wow.
I never did any of that. So it was like I got my shots and got my bookings, the Ring of Honor through, word of mouth, through stuff like that. But I never sent a tape out, which now looking back at it, a couple days being 37, it's like, man, I should have sent some stuff out. It wasn't until the stuff that happened with Impact where I was starting to reach out to other companies, and I should probably reach out more to different promotions, because there's no reason why I shouldn't be, MLW, Impact, AEW,
100%
NXT.
agree.
I could see myself being there, but it's like also, with being on my being, close to 37 now, it's like how much time, do people want to invest for me? I know for a fact I can do this well into my 50s. Knock on wood.
Yeah.
Knock on wood. I've been doing this for 19 years and haven't had a major injury.
Yeah. That's awesome.
No time off, like nothing. Like always constantly trying to reinvent myself and come up with new ways. Like you said, going from being, a kid on the show with all the veterans saying you're doing too much to now being one of those veterans like, hey, are you doing too much?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like wrestling is
does that came
ever-changing.
full circle for you?
Yeah, it does. It really does. But like, you've influenced so many in a positive way, and I think that's. I hope you understand that. You know what I mean? As you're going through this change in your life, and as January 1st, you became a free agent, so like you're sort of navigating this terrain, especially as now things are opening back up. I feel like big things are going to happen for you, Jake.
Man, I thank you for that, man. I appreciate that. And like I said, it's all. Like, who would have know? Who knows what would have happened if on October 18th, if I didn't walk past my full-length mirror and didn't actually have that in-depth conversation. Deeply looking yourself in the eyes in the mirror and having a real because you can't lie to yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, no matter how hard you try, you can't lie to yourself. And when I saw the reflection, and I hated that guy, and actually was like, how and why did you become this? And like I said, it went from those like a feeling like a victim. You know what I mean? Of having in August 30th. I will be with my wife for 20 years.
That's awesome.
We have a 17-year-old and a 5-year-old. If that doesn't tell you that we still love each other, I don't know what will. Because tell me what couple that's been together for 20 years and has a 17-year-old and a 5-year-old. And in
wrestling.
If that doesn't say love, I don't know what
in
does.
wrestling.
In wrestling.
While you're traveling road,
In
like,
wrestling.
always faithful, always like at the end of the day, a family man. Like that's always been super cool about you. But also in the ring, you've never taken any shit from anybody.
No.
Because I think if you've ever been on shows with you guys, you and Dave, when you guys were together, I felt like people were sort of like more scared of Dave because he talked a lot. But you, Jake, you're the silent one. You're the deadly one. You don't mess with Jake Crist.
That was always the if I had a pity for everyone that came up to me in my life and was like, bro, you're Dave's brother? You're so much cooler than him. I would be a multi-millionaire. Yeah. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of people, because we are brothers. And I think our relationship, and this is, trying to compare it to others, you don't know what other people's relationship is, with their brothers or whatever. But if you looked at, the other brother tag teams in wrestling, it's like me and Dave aren't as close as those guys are. Like, Dave moved out of my parents' house when I was 17. I had my daughter when I was 18 years old. So when he moved out and he never came back, and I ended up getting Nevaeh pregnant and having our daughter, I moved in with her parents, and they financially took care of us, and we could, because I was 18, just freshly out of high school.
You're a kid.
You know what I mean? I was a kid having a kid.
Yeah.
So like I had to grow up. So like I didn't, like you said, I didn't put up with shit because of having to, like, and granted, having sex is a adult activity.
Yes.
You should be thinking every time you do it, because there are consequences, whether you want them or not. Something could happen.
Sure.
You could get that person pregnant. With that being said, 18, you're not thinking about that. So when my brother found out that I got my girlfriend pregnant, because we were just now starting our careers, he got pissed. Me and him fought. It wasn't a congratulations, brother. Good for you for having, getting your girlfriend pregnant, or what are you going to do? Not being, an older brother and being like, hey, man, I got your back. There was that after the fact, but the first thing is he was pissed because he thought I ended up was going to cut his career short because I had a baby. So we literally got into a fight when he first found out I got Nevaeh pregnant.
Wow.
So it was like from 17 on, like, people want to paint the narrative and put that perception on that we were really close, but in all reality, ask Zachary Wentz, ask Desmond, ask Trey, I wasn't involved in those houses. I didn't come to training. When Dave and Sammy were training people at Rockstar, I wasn't there doing that.
Yeah.
I was working a shoot job at Wright State University for 15 years, unloading a truck, and doing this at the same time, providing for my family.
Yeah.
When every kid came in a Rockstar, because I ran Rockstar for 6 years, first Wednesday and first Friday, or every Wednesday and first Friday of every month, for 6 years of doing that. So like, all I did was come and just tell people what they were doing, book the stuff.
Right, I remember.
And went home.
Yes.
I didn't stay there. I've always been this guy, like, I want to get home to my family.
Yeah.
Like, time away from them is time that I should be making money, is how I kind of looked at it. You know what I mean? So it's like, if I could clock out early and still make that same money, I'm going to clock out early and get home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
That's just the way my mind.
As a guy that has a brother in the business, my younger brother Zach, he's been wrestling for about 5 years now. We've had ups and downs, and I think we were closer before he was in wrestling. And I feel like I was just trying to steer him in the right direction because I've been there, done that. I know it's not easy. I feel like if he's followed me at all, which I know he has, he should see that I've definitely gone through some down points, and I would have hoped that he would understand how to navigate the terrain of independent wrestling better. That being said, I'm not going to go in depth about it, but some stuff went down at AIW back in the day where basically I don't go to AIW anymore because of my brother Zach, right? And I'm okay with that because I was on my way out anyways. So my relationship with Zach is very up and down. I love my brother because he's my brother, right? I'll always be there for him no matter what he says, even if things are exaggerated, if I say stuff that maybe gets blown out of proportion, whatever the case, I'll always be there for my brother. So I say that to say, what's the relationship with Dave like now?
Oh, bro.
Because especially with everything that, like, I mean, you sort of got lumped into a situation that, again, it was not your fault. It's got to be challenging.
Oh, absolutely. I'm in a rebuilding, process right now. Like, I'm still contemplating on, should I drop Crist? Should I, what should I do at this point? You know what I mean? Like, because my name has been, tarnished. My name was thrown around with Dave because people would mix us up all the time. I don't see how you could mix this up, but I mean, it happened all the time. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, and with the relationship that I had with my brother, we weren't really that close. I haven't spoke to Dave since December.
Wow.
And it was early December, and he was telling me that he was moving out of Dayton and had 2 jobs. So like, and then I hear from my dad, obviously, like, oh, your brother, and my dad kind of sounds like Terry Funk, so he's like, oh, your brother, he's doing all right. I'm like, oh, that's cool, Dad. I let him go on. Oh. And I'm like, well, sometimes people just don't get theirs in the end, do they? You know what I mean? Because, how many times have you heard growing up, or throughout life, like, well, eventually they're going to get theirs in the end. Eventually, like Chris Rock did his special.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Some people just come up. Some people don't get theirs in the end. And, like, I think that's why I have, resentment, and I'm kind of pissed off at my brother still, because he doesn't have to deal with this anymore. He hasn't dealt with this since June. Like, when he got canceled and all that, like, I was being a good brother and made sure that he didn't commit suicide, because there was times that he was going to, and he thought about it. So I was like, I was being the caring brother, like, nah, dude, just push through it, blah, 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 blah. When he got over that in December area, that's where I was like, now that I'm, because I was on the road trying to rebuild myself. At that time, I'm only like 2 months sober from alcohol. So, like, I got the alcohol poison in my brain, got all these scenarios going through. So, I was pissed off at him, still pissed off, you know what I'm saying? Because it still comes back to is like, I have to deal with that. Like, anyone that's known us or comes, every single show, 4 or 5 people come up to me and say, hey, how's your brother doing? I really don't know. I haven't talked to him since December. It was, like I said, early, middle December. And I went to his house in December to pick up something that for my father. And that was last I saw him.
Yeah.
Like I said, my dad said he's out of Dayton and, with this girl and nice house, 2 jobs. Some people, and I felt like he was on his way out anyways. His back
He was real messed
injured,
up last time I saw him.
Like, the whole 4 years or 3 years that we were in Impact, his back he needed surgery the whole time. You know what I mean? So, like, he knew he was going to be done anyways. They weren't going to bring him back at all. But, like, for me, with being with RVD and the cancel culture group that we are on, like, I was getting mic time. I had matches, the stuff that you didn't get to see, and I was becoming, my own character, finding my own, performance.
Yeah.
If that makes any kind of sense.
I get it.
So it's like I was finally becoming myself, not just, Sammy's lackey or, a tag team with his brother. I'm finally becoming my own, I feel.
Yeah.
And then it's like, boom, finally get mic time on a television company's huge.
Absolutely.
Huge. And people really don't understand how huge that was. And I killed it. The 3 or 4 times that we did it, like walking down the ring, like killed it. Like the first time, I was a little nervous, but once you got on that horse, it was boom, 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 and I felt confident. I was like, man, this is great. And then, boom.
Yeah. Well, listen, you've been staying busy on the indies, and especially with stuff opening up. I think you're going to get even busier. You've been doing great stuff at IWM South. Tonight you're doing No Peace Underground. I look forward to seeing what's ahead for Jake Crist, but what do you see yourself doing for the remainder of 2021? And more importantly, as we wrap this up, I want to know what inspires you and what keeps you going.
What keeps me going is actually the health and fitness right now. And trying to see if I can come back from this in the rebuilding process. Because I mean, it's been a year and a half, and it's been a long, hard year and a half. Like with COVID, I didn't take a break. And a lot of people might give me shit for this when I say this, but God bless Ian Rotten and IWA Mid-South. Because if it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't be doing this anymore. I would probably be, dead. And if I wasn't dead, I'd be drunk for sure. And like I said, like if it wasn't for him giving me the opportunity and giving me work, because from getting cut, from that one email, snap of finger saying, hey, you're not getting your $3,000 a month anymore, I was panicked. What am I going to do? I've never felt less than a man before in my life. I have 2 children I got to worry about. What am I going to do? I was freaked out. Yeah. He booked me. He kept booking me. He's like, I don't believe anything. It's just like I said, my names was getting mixed. The names were getting switched. People, this is Jake, and it took, people standing beside me saying, no, you got the wrong guy. No, you got the wrong guy. Like, a lot of people came to my defense, which I thank them for that, and I'm grateful for that as well. But with all that being said, God bless Ian Rotten, as he gave me $1,500 a month.
Holy shit.
$1,500 worth of a month worth of bookings. So that's why I'm loyal to IWA Mid-South. That's why I'm loyal to Ian Rotten. You know what I mean? It's and if anyone has a problem with that, they can come say it to me, to my face, and see if see what happens.
Well, I if they're smart, I don't think they should do that.
No, I mean, it's like, why... You miss out on $3,000 a month, and you're not going to take $1,500, and the only person that wants to book you,
right.
Like, come on now.
Yeah.
Like I said, I know he in the past, and he's all that stuff, but it's all water under the bridge to me. Like, I look at him in a completely different light that I have this last year and a half to 2 years. That I've been lucky enough to have Ian stand beside me.
Hell yeah. Well, hey, look,
I know that's weird, right?
No, it's not weird because, listen, I think people get this misconception that Ian fucks over all these guys or whatever. Ian's never done me wrong.
Never done me wrong.
Everyone close to me, I don't know of anyone that could say a bad thing about Ian. So,
not nowadays. Like, maybe, and all those dudes, you hear stories or whatever, unless it happens to you. I mean, like, I don't know. To me, it's just about having a head on your shoulders. You can believe, take stuff at a grain of salt, at face level. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Come to the source if you really want to know. Like, people ask me all the time, "Oh, do you talk to Dave?" Nope. All the time, 2 years. People that would shit on him online. That was because that was the whole cool thing, but same dudes at the next show saying, pull me off. This is what pisses me off. They pull me off to the side, in the dark, like saying, hey, like there's nobody around, like, hey man, how's your brother doing? Don't know.
Yeah. Well, hey, look. This is about Dave. This is about you.
Yeah, thank you, Dave.
But
I mean, you can't, with being 19 years and everything that's happened, why don't you, we'd be dumb not to talk about it.
No, but listen, I appreciate you not only talking with me today, but sort of setting the record straight, because I think people need to know that
this is the first time I've said anything in an interview like this at all. So this is all firsthand. Like, you're the only person because we've known each other for as long as we have, that I feel like that I could just be open with you.
I appreciate that.
Because, like any other podcast that you do, there's always a underhanded initiative, on that person's part. Like, oh, maybe I get more followers or more views or whatever off that dude's name, where it's like, you're my boy. We've known each other for a very, very long time. So it's like, if I want to tell my story, it's going to be on your show.
I appreciate it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, and more importantly, just I appreciate everything you've done for young wrestlers over the years. I appreciate your friendship. And not only are you a good man, you're a great father.
Thank you.
You know, you're a great husband. You're a great man. You're the modern man in black. And listen,
Used to be.
if someone wanted to find you on social media to follow what you're doing now and what's in your future, how could they do that?
Hit me up on Twitter, Instagram, at the J Crist. It's easy. The J Crist, and then Facebook. Does anyone use Facebook?
I feel like you got to be a real old man to use Facebook.
You know what I mean?
We're not that
so,
old.
Yeah, Facebook. J Crist.
I say that as I messaged you earlier to do the podcast on Facebook.
I use Facebook.
Yeah.
because we're old men.
Sure,
You
absolutely.
know? I'm an old man. I'm just an old man,
Hey,
Greg.
we're old men with a lot to offer.
Forever
and ever.
Forever.
Jake, thank you so much,
I
man.
love you, brother. Thank you.
I love you. Hey, you just listened to the interview with Jake Crist, but if you're not on patreon.com/irononwrestling, you just missed a 30-minute conversation that we did in the extended version, because this Thursday I'm going to be on X-Pac's podcast with Nick Hausman and, of course, Sean Waltman. Pro Wrestling for Life. I'll be talking with the icon, X-Pac, sharing a little bit of my story. That goes down Thursday. Of course, if you sign up for X-Pac's Patreon, you can get that conversation early this Wednesday, well, today, as you're listening to the podcast. But, yeah, so listen to an extra 30-ish minutes over on our Patreon, patreon.com/ironwrestling, as we talk about some of our favorite X-Pac, Sean Waltman, 6, 123 Kid, Lightning Kid, Kamikaze Kid memories. Or don't. I mean, it's up to you. But
Cannonball
I feel like
Kid.
you're missing out for $3 a month to just hear an extended and early version of the podcast. But conversation with Jake went very well. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned some things about Jake Crist, and I hope he set the record straight for you. So to end this show, Aaron, can you give me? You know what? I don't know if I want you to give me 3 things, because I feel like we do that just because it's a thing we do. What did you get out of the Jake Crist story today? Just anything you learned, like in all seriousness. I mean, he's got a compelling story. This guy has rebuilt his career, and I think he's going to end up somewhere very important very shortly because of the type of dude he is and how he's busted his ass to not only retain his reputation, but also the weight loss. Just an inspiring story.
Well, to be honest, like I know I've said it before, but you don't always have to be best friends with your brother. And that's something where when I was in the locker room with those guys, I figured they were best friends. I figured they were close. And, of course they're close because of blood, but I don't know about any other reason. Right. I'm not sure. It seems like they have different philosophies on maybe life and wrestling and all that. So that was.
I mean, they're not even associating with each other. So I mean,
yeah.
I think that's the telltale sign right there. Is just like I think what sticks out to me in that conversation and what was very emotional during the interview was just the fact that Jake becomes this young father, and he's 18 years old. He's having this kid, his first kid on the way, and everyone else is very happy for Jake. And Dave chastises his brother and says, "Hey, you're not thinking about our career. Like, this is very selfish of you." And so Jake is trying to celebrate this new life that he's bringing to the world, and Dave is just not about it and sort of selfish. And I don't know. I think that you could tell that there's a lot of ill will harbored because of that one particular incident and so many other incidents that we talk about in the episode. But, yeah, that really struck a chord with me.
Right. All right. Yeah, same way. So, but I like the interview, and I appreciate what Jake had to say. Yeah. And how he's, what people probably don't even think about as much as how much has he had to swerve from the path he was on to make sure people weren't associating him with what was going on with his brother.
Well, like, as we talked about, half the time people were putting Jake's name in these stories because
it was the wrong guy.
they would just get confused.
Yeah.
I mean, they're brothers,
Right.
And they do.
But I always thought Dave looked like a Jake and Jake looked like a Dave.
Well, yeah. So I just, I don't know. I appreciate very much that we could have that conversation. I appreciate not only Jake, the man, but his friendship, and just thank you, Jake, for offering your time. Thank you for sharing your story and being so vulnerable. And I wish you nothing but the best going forward. I know good things are in your future. And I guess there's nothing else to be said any further than that. That was this week's episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And until next week, I'm going to need you to go follow us on social media, where we'll be posting exclusive photos and maybe even some video clips of Jake Crist this week. That's Iron on Wrestling on Twitter, Instagram, and of course Facebook. You can also follow me on social media. But before you do that, make sure you give the podcast 5 stars, and of course subscribe if you haven't already. Subscribe to our YouTube as well. That's growing. We appreciate you guys for helping us in doing that. Follow me on social media at Gregory Iron on Twitter, at Gregory_Iron on Instagram. Go to Facebook, find me there as well. If you'd like to book me for pro wrestling, perhaps even a pro wrestling seminar, maybe you need a motivator. I do motivational speaking in schools for kids of all ages. Reach out to me via DM on social media, or contact me via email at Gregory_Iron@yahoo.com. Find my t-shirts at prowrestlingtees.com/Gregory Iron. Cameo, I can give you a shout out there as well. Search Gregory Iron. Aaron, what would you like to plug?
At Fair to Air on Twitter, at Fair to Aaron on Instagram. And I love you all.
Well, we love you.
Oh, thank
so
you.
just stop posting weird stuff on Patreon to get our Patreon subscribers worried, okay?
What do you mean? I love them.
Yes, but
I can't post I love you guys?
you can. But
Okay.
when you're also posting sad songs on YouTube, on your Facebook, it gets
Yeah, that's
people a little worried.
that doesn't have a direct correlation. Don't worry about my business.
All right, fine. Well, I guess we just won't worry about you anymore.
All right, thanks, guys.
Until next week, thank you for tuning in. Thanks for helping this podcast grow. Premature kiss there, but I guess we can give each other a kiss goodbye. What do you
All
say?
Premature is my middle name.
Oh, boy. That's
Wait,
nothing
what?
to brag about.
Oh, oops.
I need to have a moment to myself. And country lines clear my mind with someplace else besides the stairwell. Alone on the road, I'm overwhelmed. Well, I need to find a difference in how I'm feeling, how I found, and leave all the lights on. And maybe I'll find my way back home and leave all the lights on. I took this drive to be alone, leave all the lights on. I wish we could get back to the way that things were, when we were young, having fun, self-assured. And now it's all a blur. I miss the way we always used to talk. And now we talk ourselves in circles till we forget why we fought. Leave all the lights on, and maybe I'll find my way back home and leave all the lights on. I took this drive to be alone, leave all the lights on. If I'm not worth letting go, and leave all the lights on. If you still care, I need to know. Leave all the lights on. It's getting so down, down, down. Can we work it out? Why can't we work it out? It's so down, down, down. I've been trying to see if you're meant for me. It's getting so down, down, down. I'm gonna turn this car around. Just know that it's the last time. Yeah, it's the last time. and leave all the lights on. And maybe I'll find my way back home and leave all the lights on. I took this stride to be alone and leave all the